Joining me right now is former Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson. And Dr. Carson, once again, the shooting of a black man has occurred. This was done by a black police officer. What's your reaction?
Well, you know, it's unfortunate that these things continue to happen. And what we really need to ask ourselves is there something that we can do to keep this from happening? Are there some policies that we can look at? Recognize that the police are trained to use lethal force if they feel that their lives are in danger. But maybe there's a time to look at that. For instance, in Oklahoma, where you had the woman police officer who was telling the man to stop, and he kept moving toward his vehicle. Well, of course, she would then begin to believe that he has a weapon in that vehicle, whether he does or not. But if she can stop him from getting to the vehicle by using non-lethal force, you don't have that situation. I mean, I think these are things to talk about. And, you know, people get into their respective corners and say, no, 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 we only can use lethal force. The fact of the matter is, police officers are people just like everybody else. They have a duty to protect us, but they also have a duty to protect themselves. So we have to be reasonable. And the people who are out rioting, they need to understand that there is nothing about rioting that is helping this situation. Right. They're just making themselves look like hoodlums. That's not helpful at all.
Well, you know, to be clear, in North Carolina, the black man was armed. The black police officer says that they thought that he was reaching for the gun. And then in Tulsa, you're right, the police officer was saying, stop, stop, stop. He kept walking toward his vehicle. She makes an assumption that he's going for a gun. So the police are scared, so they're using force.
Of course, and if we don't allow the police to protect themselves, who's going to become a police officer? And if we don't have any police officers, what's going to happen to our society? So, you know, this is a problem that really requires the highest level of interest. And we really need to do something about it. We can't just continue to do the same thing and let it continue to happen, because it's going to exacerbate the situation. The riots are going to get worse. The police and the military are going to have to react even more strongly. Chaos is going to ensue. Right. Now is the time to put the finger in the dike. Let's not wait until this exacerbates further.
And it's just a horrible situation that it is actually exacerbating. Dr. Carson, stay with us. We want to turn to the latest on the New York and New Jersey bombing suspect, Ahmad Khan Rahami. Authorities releasing new details of the terrorist suspect's bullet-riddled journal. Brian Yennis is in Newark, New Jersey right now. He's got the very latest. Brian, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Maria. Ahmad Khan Rahami is now facing multiple state and federal charges this morning for those bombings in New Jersey and New York, including the use of a weapon of mass destruction, attempted murder, and the use of a bomb in a public space. Now, the federal complaint details how pivotal surveillance video was in this investigation, at one point capturing Rahami rolling two bags at 7:28 p.m. on Saturday night in Chelsea, Manhattan. That is just an hour before the bomb went off in that neighborhood. We've also learned that Rahami bought a bomb-making materials on eBay as early as June. Authorities also found a handwritten journal on Rahami, which included references to American radical terrorist cleric Anwar al-Awlaki, and he praised Osama bin Laden. An excerpt in the journal reading, quote, "Inshallah, God willing, the sounds of the bombs will be heard in the streets, gunshots to your police, death to your oppression." Now, the unexploded second pressure cooker bomb that was found in Chelsea had 12 fingerprints matching Rahami. A relative's cell phone also contained a video showing Rahami laughing while igniting an incendiary device just 2 days before the bombings. Now, meantime, Rahami's wife, well, she's reportedly left the country a number of weeks before the bombings to Pakistan and has been detained by authorities while on her way back into the United States in the United Arab Emirates. Rahami's mother also reportedly left for Turkey just 3 weeks ago and has not come back. Now, born in Afghanistan, the 28-year-old American made at least 3 trips to Afghanistan and even a 13-month trip to Quetta, Pakistan. And friends say Rahami's demeanor changed after these trips. Now, the suspect's father says he alerted the FBI in 2014 that he feared his son had become radicalized. And he says his son turned violent, hitting his mother and stabbing a brother.
2 years ago, I called the API. Must be doing very bad, okay? But they checked it almost 2 months.
Investigation still going on, guys.
He's okay.
don't know
He's
yet.
clear. He's not a terrorist. I said, okay. Now he say he's a terrorist. I said, okay.
The FBI says they interviewed Rahami's father and they interviewed others. They did not interview Rahami, and all his trips to the Middle East at the time cleared with no ties to terrorism. Maria?
All right, Brian, thank you. Brian Yenes. And as Brian just reported, his wife and his mother left either days before or weeks before, in the case of the mother. They left town before this happened. Former Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson is with us this morning. Dr. Carson, reports are suggesting that terror groups may be waiting to strike until it gets closer to the election. Got to talk to you about both of these points. Number one, what should be done in terms of his family that they left? Should we believe that they didn't know anything about this? And now there's reports saying that let's wait to strike America again until we get a couple more weeks until the election. What do you think?
Well, I do believe that there are many, many terror cells in our country. One of the things that impressed me when I was running was talking to some of the sheriffs down at the borders, and they were telling how many people are coming across that border who are not Latinos. There are people who are coming from Sudan and Iraq and various places. Those people have infiltrated our society and are waiting to do horrible things. But when I was practicing medicine, one of the things I always said in the laboratory or in the operating room, when something didn't work, I said, it's not a total failure if you learn from it. We need to learn from these situations. The father reported to the FBI that his son had become radicalized a couple of years ago. And we still didn't do anything about it. We need to say, what is the breakdown? What is the problem? And we need to fix it. We don't need to have a commission and talk about it for the next 2 years. We need to fix it right now.
Dr. Carson, do you not think that this is an incredible situation here? This guy was searching for bomb materials on eBay. He was incredibly radicalized. He went to countries that are known to have links to terror. All of these things combined with a report to the FBI. And by the way, we should give the father full credit. We're always saying members of the community need to help us and assist us. This guy's father actually was that stand-up guy, and yet with all of these signals coming down, the FBI still didn't look.
Yeah, well, I mean, what does it take? Do you have to go out and say, I'm a terrorist and I'm going to kill everybody right now, here are my weapons? What does it take for them to actually move? And this is what I'm talking about. We love to talk about things and discuss them and have joint commissions, but we've got to learn how to do things. This is one of the things that surgeons do. You know, surgeons, you know, sometimes are criticized because they say they just want to cut. No, they want to deal with the situation. They don't want to endlessly sit around and talk about it.
Right, with precision.
Dr. Carson, I was just going to say, though, it's easy to say that as a surgeon, don't you think? Because you're just in charge of yourself. You're not in charge of a vast bureaucracy that is impossible to change and move.
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. Some of the surgical procedures are extraordinarily complex, involving dozens of people moving simultaneously in the same direction, and that has to be coordinated by the primary surgeon.
Real quick, Dr. Carson, in terms of immigration, this goes back to immigration and what's missed at the border, doesn't it?
Obviously, the border is a huge issue. And, you know, here's the thing. A lot of the times we detain people at the border, and then ICE comes along and says, no, you must release them. And they tell the sheriffs, you can't even warn the people around you that you're releasing them into their community. It's almost like there are people in our government who actually are on the other side. So, you know, I don't want to think that.
It feels that way sometimes.
But sometimes it seems that way. The loss of common sense is quite alarming.
It sure is. Dr. Carson, always a pleasure to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you, Maria.
We'll see you soon. Dr. Ben Carson, and we'll be right back.